Everybody, we're back at Equal Time Soccer. We've got gear. You should be getting it in the mail, by the way, if you ordered it. Also, I wanted to start off just thanking Patreons because today Matt, again, is at an away game. He's in Green Bay. He's going to be on the ground. The only reason we can do stuff like that is because you support us. So thank you to all the players' moms, my family, and then the other fans who donate the Patreons to us. That's awesome. Dani, we got a returning guest. We got a McKinney High School Hall of Famer. All SEC and All-American at Florida. Someone who was inaugural NWSL champion with you in Portland. Sorry to say, you guys, too, that was 10 years ago. But now,
oh, no.
You like that.
I don't know.
Hi.
It's fine. I graduated college like 15 years ago. It's okay. But, and look, now Kat Williams just does something with vibes at Nike, Dani. But we've got her back.
She's a badass. So, and everything she does, I'm so happy to have you back, Kat. Welcome back to the show.
I am happy to be here, Dani.
And it is, I think you have a lot of different titles you said, and I love like corporate titles are kind of hilarious to hear sometimes, but I think it's just a pretty good one now. You're just like global partner. What's your global tie-ins?
I mean, the Nike speak, we love acronyms. So technically I'm Catalyst Brand Management, and I sit in relationships. So essentially it's just collaboration. I know.
I love it.
There's so many teams, but CBM RM is essentially what I am.
Yeah. That was like Dani and I interviewed the new COO of Minnesota Aurora, Jess Poole, and she had a title at one point in an athletic department that was, I think, 14 words total. I told her.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah. It was the craziest title I've ever heard.
That's why we like acronyms here. We just shorten it up.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what your work actually means to you day to day. What do you end up actually, working on? We talked to you a little bit about it in terms of doing brand partnerships and helping athletes find their voice and their connection to the Nike brand.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. When I worked for Jordan Brand, it was a lot of athlete integration. I think since moving into Catalyst on the Nike side, I mainly deal with entertainers and designers. And so it varies day to day, but I have a portfolio of mainly designers across the globe that I help manage. And it's never a dull moment. I feel like it's always entertaining. I'm actually flying to Paris tomorrow to see one of the global collaborators that I help manage. So it's essentially, you're partnering with them from product creation, brainstorming, all the way through product hitting the marketplace and campaigns and all of that fun stuff. So it changes every single day, but it's pretty exciting.
Dani, do you think now that you're an on-air personality, maybe Nike might be interested in rehooking up? Because I think you used to be a Nike athlete. There's a relationship here, Kat, already.
Yeah, I am one of the entertainers that you guys need.
And Dani is one of the people in our portfolio who we love.
Sure. I love it. Look, yeah, I'm sure, doesn't Nike want to partner with me? I'm wearing a shirt from inside of Saved by the Bell right now. I mean, get a swoosh on.
Product.
What is it? But if you do follow Kat on Instagram, Dani, like I don't know how much you see these two. I'm like, wow, it does look a little glamorous, and then but what is but I know obviously like also flying to Europe could not be. I don't like flying to Europe, but like in a sincere way, what is the hardest part of that? Because people probably see it and are like, oh wow, what a job.
It's funny, like it looks glamorous, but you're in the trenches quite a bit. And I think the funny thing about where I sit is I'm serving Nike while also trying to serve the partner that we work with. So you're kind of in between both brand and partner, which, we always find compromises and things that we can all agree on. So that's good. But everybody's got strong opinions, and I think being the bridge between the two can be complicated at times, but I kind of love it. I love being able to represent both sides. So, the flights, all of that kind of stuff, touring around Paris and all of that, like, yes, it's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of work and meetings and alignment that goes into that. So that's behind the scenes. That wouldn't be quite as glamorous to post about on Instagram. So it definitely is one portion of what I'm posting, and it looks nice. Yes.
I mean, what you were posting though is beautiful. I will say that. Like, I mean, you are getting to go to the coolest things ever.
I feel very, very fortunate to do what I do and work with the incredible people that I do. So it's a fun spot.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. I love keeping up with your life that way. I miss you obviously, but like I'm glad and proud of you to see like where you are now. You're doing cool things. So
I miss you too, girl. Meet me in Paris.
I know.
It was, Kat, one thing, I'll have to send you this. Dani could text it to you. I got to share it on social or something. But one thing I thought of is Aurora's done a really good job of creating kind of a higher level even of like hype content and like brand. The photo shoot of the shout out to Zoe Prince Flash, who's a friend of mine from college too, who did the photo shoot. Made it look really cool streetwear. And then they did a hype video where Dani was doing some teching. She got her little feet out and did a little thing.
And then the play-by-play was like hyping me up.
Oh yeah, so it's like they're on it. It was well done. It was like they're on a bridge. It looks like it could have been a Nike ad, to be honest.
Wait, can you send me the link? I want to check. I'm gonna repost it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, Dani was with her broadcast. The partner does broadcast, Jake, and so he's like calling a game as Dani's just doing tricks on one of the cool bridges in the city. It was great. It ended with a bunch of kids and fans playing against Aurora people in the stadium. So it's just like, it reminded me a lot of like World Cup hype videos, like the new U.S. women's one.
I love it.
Really good. Really good.
It is. It's legit.
So both of you, like Dani, you and Kat, like we joked about 2013, but you're, NWSL OGs. And I know we talked about this last year a bit, but how wild is it? Because I said 10 years. There's players who you were playing against who are on the World Cup team. It's wild. How does your body feel when you see about to play? Like your knees must get sore, Kat, thinking about it.
I tear my ACL just looking at it. It's funny. Like I just recently went to a Thorns game with Catherine Reynolds, who also is an OG in the NWSL. And I was looking at the field like, man, I only know 2 of these players.
Right.
It's wild to me how much the game has changed and grown and new players coming in. And like seeing the post with Sophia Smith and Abby Wambach when Soph was a kid, and now, and I'm like, wow, like that's the dream right there. It's pretty, I don't know, it's pretty crazy to see, but I love looking at that kind of stuff because it's a reminder that the game is progressing and our league is gathering more and more viewership, and it's progress. I love it.
I will say too, I kind of like after I stopped playing and after I stopped coaching specifically, I kind of like took a step away from it to be like, okay, I need to like figure out my own life, and then coming back into it and being like, oh my God, so much has changed in like, a few years, and now we're 10 years removed, which is just like crazy. So, I mean, it's
saying it, Dani.
I didn't realize that at all. So now I'm just realizing like, I felt like it was a few years and now it's like,
apologies to break your emotions today.
Yeah. So, but it is crazy to see just how much has changed. For the women that are still playing though, I don't understand it. I'm like, power to you. You guys took really.
They're actually making money now, guys. That's why they stuck in. Now
we're hanging in there.
Yeah.
Still not enough, but something. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then also, I mean, your old coach, Kat, she runs the federation, Sydney Barlow-Cohn, right?
I know. I'm like, it's unbelievable. And it came full circle, actually. One of the partners that I help manage is going to do something pretty cool with the World Cup. And I was like, wow, no, I'll get to see Cindy. And it's been a very long time since we've reconnected. So it's funny to have a full circle moment like that on the Nike side.
We'll have to use you, Kat, to get Cindy an equal time hat. You're our connection to
I'll drop an off tour in Australia.
We're about to do our best to get a little social media storm of giving some of these away to people. How much you referenced when we talked to you last year? Someone like Abby Wambach had a role in just like helping you see how to be a leader and how to find your role on the sports side of it. Like we talked about your transition, you've been in the business world for a while now, you're established. So do you find yourself being that resource for players who are moving from the soccer side to their next phase, or like people who want to work in the type of brand and sports world that you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually funny. I was having a conversation with Shannon Box a couple weeks ago, and she's starting this incredible company where she's trying to help people with transitions coming from a sports background. And I think like being able to invest in athletes, I think is the greatest investment any company can do. Because there are so many inherent traits that we have learned growing up throughout the game of sport and team that doesn't necessarily come naturally for other people who haven't been exposed to it. And I think that it's easy to look over that when you transition from a sport into the real world and you're like, what is my value? So I always try to reach out to people and make sure that like, hey, if anybody's tapping me on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever the case is in real life, I'm here to be a resource, because it's a tough transition. And Dani, I'm sure you can relate to this, like being able to find your way after you've spent 20 years doing something, and you're a perfectionist and you want to be perfect at everything. It's hard. So I always like to help where I can, and always there as a resource for sure.
Yeah, it's so hard. I honestly think that like the year specifically after ending, I will say coaching for me, because it was like a pretty direct link like from playing into coaching. But after coaching was done and I was like, okay, what else do I want to do outside of soccer? What am I good at?
Right?
Yeah, who am I? It really was like, what am I good at? What do I want to spend my time doing? I have no idea what I can even do, you know.
Right.
It was so hard. It was so hard. So that's, I mean, yeah, it's really difficult, but it's great that she's doing that. And I love to see that the resources that are coming out for all these players who are trying to figure that out. Because I think that now that there's a little bit more money, we're all like financially a little bit more stable coming out of the game. Like that was the other part for us too, is we were coming off of making like 20 grand a year.
Yeah. Congratulations. You're broke.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. Shout out to Doherty Dental, which
Shout out to Doherty Dental.
They got Cat through those years, baby, in Portland. Go get those teeth fixed. We reward the people who are loyal to the game, Cat. I'm still hyped for Doherty Dental. It'd be fun.
I love that you have that shout out. I'm like, I need a coupon code still.
I gotta do the you just might have a coupon code. I gotta do the digging, Cat. I don't have any expertise in the game. I gotta bring something to the table. Speaking of which, this show is brought to you by Pentz Homes. Whether you're buying or selling or looking to do some projects in your current home, Nate and Lydia can help you find what you need. Need financing for a basement remodel, looking to add a second bath, or even a workspace now that you're working from home? Pentz Homes and their preferred lender, Angie Shearer, with Luminant Financing, can help find the right financing tool for you. Go to pentzhomes.com to learn more, or find them on social media at Pentz Homes. Pentz Homes is my Doherty Dental, by the way, Kat. So
I mean, that was the smoothest transition I have ever heard.
It's amazing what I'm able
He's
to
a
do.
bro.
It's amazing what I'm able to do out here. Aurora rolling again this year. Going to talk a little bit. They're in Green Bay today, obviously. Dani, playoffs are clinched. And I want like a little perspective from Kat on this after I hear from you. But how do you think the coaches are handling the transition to knowing, same with other summer leagues, the stratification from the top to bottom is really big. And so, but in the playoffs, we're going to be facing the 16 best teams, and it's it won't be 10-0. It won't be probably 6-1 like we've seen in Aurora. So I just wonder from how much you heard from the coaching staff, how they're handling that shift and preparation really.
Yeah, I have. We've been talking about it, I think, the whole season, even before the season, because I think they knew that this season was going to be very similar to how it was last season, and that all of a sudden it went from like 0 to 100 in their, postseason. And so I think they've been using every game to try to like hone in on the mentality that they want to carry through, because you can't and then create like training environments that are really high level, that are often like higher level than the games have been. And I think they've been trying to lean on that. But like, Kat, you know how it is when it, like, even in a lot of college seasons, you'll have like such a big variation from the top teams to the bottom teams. And that's what makes it for a really, really difficult like challenge come the difficult games, especially like back to back difficult games, to make sure that you're like prepared for that. So yeah, it's definitely something they've been talking about, and I think they've been trying their best. But I mean, I don't know if your idea, Kat, but like when I was coaching, that's like one of the biggest challenges that I think you could have.
Very challenging. And I think like I'm trying to remember back a decade ago when I still played, like how I would approach those types of situations where you get to playoff time and you know that everybody's the same caliber as you. And I think it sounds corny and cheesy, but it's like you got to take it game by game, because if you don't and you look ahead a couple of games, then you're missing out on training and focusing on the next thing. So it's like it's a mindset shift, which can be difficult at times, but I think it's definitely helpful to frame up that way.
I was going to ask you actually specifically because the players are pretty good at the media part now. They still think they're nervous and stuff, but they do great. But they're pretty trained and they give us pretty media savvy answers. And Coach Lukic is kind of, sometimes she'll break out of that, but she can be a little bit she'll say the cliche, like it's one game at a time. And I just want to, and I know they have to say it and it's part of creating the mindset for the players. But like when you were the player, like, is that true or is that a lie when you say that to the media? Like, are you actually thinking
you have to take it one game at a time. If you don't, I mean, obviously you want to win the whole thing, right? Like that never goes away. But I think like, and Dani, you can speak to this too, but like even when we got into the playoff timing, in 2013, it wasn't like we were looking towards the final. We got to get through what was one of the most difficult games I've ever played in the Heat.
Houston.
I mean, Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Yeah.
In Arrowhead? In a high school or in Arrowhead?
Oh yeah, high school.
It was a high school.
It was a high school. I recall.
Yeah.
But if we overlooked that game, and it went into overtime, double overtime, like that, it's, you really can't look ahead. So it is true what they're saying, regardless of if they're media trained or not.
For sure. Yeah. I think the other part to that too is like in a season, and you're looking at like a season long, like, the first part of the season, every point becomes really, really important. And if you take like, any of those points for granted, they can really start to add up come the end of the season, which could put you in a lot of different positions for, like if you're hosting or if you have to go away or whatever. And that becomes really important. And then if you take that same mentality into the postseason, like, I mean, those are like one and done. So like you can't look past one game. It doesn't matter who you're playing against, because, like you still have to perform in that game.
Yeah. One thing we talked about, I'd like your perspective on as well, Kat, is Dani, we talked about, you referenced it today as well, that one thing that the team has an advantage in is they have talent on the roster. One, they also train more than other teams, which is another advantage. And they have enough players that they can train fully 11-11. They have extra training players, even if people are hurt. So I was wondering, we talk about it kind of as the idea that, the keepers don't take a lot of shots in the games, but they train with such good talent. How much can you get in form and feel in playoff form just from good training? And how much do you need it to be, you need the game like chemistry as well? Because it's like, I just wondered if that.
It's a really, really good question. Not one that I've like per se put a ton of thought to maybe before this question, but I honestly think that like right now their training environment is probably so different than it was a month ago. And the training environment that meant the most was the training a month ago. Because like at this point they're starting to like take the foot off the gas and like keep players healthy, and like the work that they needed to put in has already happened. And if they're not ready, like they're not going to get ready in the next couple of weeks, Right. So I think that the training environment, though, to like answer your question directly, is so important. And that's where you like hone in. And a lot of times where you are being more challenged, because like they'll put forwards, like the starting forwards against the starting back line. They're not going to run like an 11 and 11 against, you know, against like the not starting players. They're going to run like the starting 11 forwards against the starting 11 back, which gives them a challenge every day, you know? So that's where Kat and I became best friends, because we were always,
right,
we were doing that every day, you know?
But it was so crucial. It was so crucial. And Dani, you're right. Like that type of mindset and training happens from jump, like from the very beginning of the season, because that's when it counts now. But yeah, that was one of the best parts, was going up against starters. It's
for
good
sure.
to have a squad for sure.
Dani, you throw the bows in on Kat, get her in the ribs a little bit. What would you do?
This woman, she just constantly moving. Again, like she never stopped, and I just was. I prefer sprinting and walking. That was kind of my
sure.
And I was like a slow mosier, and then would just like sneak in because people would lose track of me. That was my tactic.
Sneak in,
a little annoying.
I love it. So, and speaking of, I reference the playoffs for people's context, it's pretty set who the teams will be. We don't know exactly how they're going to handle matchups, if they're going to go by points or if there's anything with not matching up people from the same division. As of now, it looks like Indy 11 is going to make it. Flint City is hosting, and they're going to make it. The wild card will be Chicago City from the Heartland. They've finished better than the team in Flint's division. So we'll see how those work out. It's July 6th and 8th. And it's a Thursday and Saturday. We couldn't host because there's lacrosse at the stadium, guys. So shout out to National League Lacrosse or whatever it's called. But yeah, hopefully.
Whatever it's called.
Don't mean to be so dismissive, but I don't care. You know, that's fine. I can be dismissive. But hopefully Aurora, if they do well, I mean, like you said, take it one game at a time. But certainly, I'm sure they're hoping they get to have a home game. And otherwise, in the 6th and 8th, here at the Blackheart, using the space. Fans, come on in. I happen to be bartending, so the synergy is just like, it's so tight at this point. We're in full form. But yeah, Chicago City is who they end with, Dani. And for your reference, Kat, both Chicago City like being the second place team, and then they face Green Bay, who they haven't finished as high as maybe they wanted last year, but they are competitive. So I like, for you, Dani, knowing that some of the games have been kind of a cakewalk, is how much does it matter going into playoffs having a couple fair opponents?
You know, I mean, I think these are new opponents, and I will say Nicole has been working so much on the mentality of the team going into each game, and you can tell like this is very different Kat team this year from last year, and the fact that they score like all their goals in the first like 20 minutes. Not all of them, because they've had a couple like games that are just like blowouts, but that's like consistently they're like, we're going to score right off the bat. And they've actually really done that. So I think that coming against like any new team, if they can continue to do that, they're just like, they're creating like a little bit of a steep hill for another team to climb out of, you know what I mean? Which is really great. I will say, I think if they face a team that can like weather the storm for the first like 30 minutes is where I think they haven't really been like challenged that much this season. And I think it will like when they face that will be like the first real challenge for them.
Yeah, they just have the ball a lot and they press from the front, and so they aren't on the back foot very often. So yeah, if there's a team that plays maybe similar to them in a sense of pressing from the front and as a whole team, I could see. But you know, then again, the Aurora defenders are really some of the best players of the ball on the whole team as well. But again, like, you know, like someone like Porba, our keeper, you know, has not faced that type of presence in like her space. So yeah, that would be interesting, Dani.
But I think it's more like, I think for me, it's more like the tempo of the game. Like Aurora plays so high pressure and such high energy the whole time. If they play a team and then they get momentum because they've like scored a goal, you know what I mean? But if they can play if they play a team that weathers that and can like keep the tempo a little bit slower, I think Minnesota Aurora will struggle in that kind of a situation. Just like problem solving, you know?
Mental shift too.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. But I think, yeah, like you said, you can tell the mentality is there because they have gone down in the last couple games a few times, which has been good for them, I think. And then they have found ways to come back and have, unanswered goals. And the other thing that is, helps them stay, I don't actually really think they're going to lose focus in the last couple of games, and partly too, because Dani, it's so competitive for minutes. There's a bunch of Cat this year. There's probably 5 or so players with some pro experience. Everyone who Aurora added was older. It wasn't a person either like 21, 22, 20. Vienna Benke's 30. She's a straight up peer of ours. I love her. She's so much she would know she knows what Saved by the Bell is, but, so there is a lot of experience, and it's tough to get minutes in this. Shout out to Rami Rapp, and who barely gets sniffed in midfield, and I think it's just tough. It's tough to get in there.
Yeah.
Very tough. Yeah, we've seen full Rap a couple times where we have all 3 Rap triplets in Cat.
We have
the Revantelet supporters like it. They do it really confused the Rochester fans. They do a count from Sesame Street where they say 1 Rap sister, and they do the whole thing.
Triplets.
Yeah,
they're triplets.
That's unreal. And that's an athletic family. And
they're good. And they're they only recently completed their freshman year of college. So they were playing as just post high school last year. And each of them, Kat plays kind of forward or as a 10. Eli plays as an outside midfield mostly, or Eli plays as an outside back rather. Rami plays as a midfield. So they can get on the field at the same time. And
I love that.
Yeah. Great combination. They're definitely fan favorites, aside from just being triplets. Absolutely. Talk about, we mentioned the World Cup a little bit. You kind of hinted. I don't know if there's anything that is going on at Nike or things that you just wanted to mention that are going on either with NWSL, the women's national team this summer, if you have anything going on kind of currently in the world.
Yeah, there's a few surprises we have up our sleeve. I'll wait to have you guys see it in real time so that I don't get fired. But no,
no one's watching.
No, it's fine. But no, there's a lot of exciting programming even outside of Catalyst where I sit. Big brand Nike is activating quite a bit around New Zealand and Australia during this time, and we really, really believe in these athletes, removing women from it, just athlete period. So I think we're building equity, and it is an investment for us. So it's going to be really exciting. Obviously, I'm biased. I think that, it's something that we should do and we should continue to do and support these athletes. But yeah, you guys keep your eyes out. I think that there's going to be some pretty incredible things happening around this tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. People all the time working at a queer soccer bar, customers have been coming up to ask me about what we're doing for the World Cup, and the timing works out okay, especially for the U.S. games. Yeah, we'll see how many 3 and 4 a.m. situations we have. It could get a little. We'll have to do a little.
DC is not even closing their bars anymore for the World Cup. It's 24/7, which is pretty incredible.
But here, Representative Jamie Becker-Finn, who's from just north of us in Roseville, she's also from Cass County, where I'm from. So shout out to Jamie Becker-Finn. She got a law changed for the men's and women's World Cup, because we have puritanical drinking rules here. It's not like New York, it's we got to change so we can be open. So the third group game is a 2 a.m. start, so we'll probably close at 1. So you can get the people who are already drunk out, and then
start another game. Best of luck to you.
Yeah, I will be here. So yeah, but I did want to ask. I think I asked it off camera, but we got to ask for the people. If Aurora make it through, they get into it would be the semifinals, I suppose. Then theoretically they could host. Kat, do we have an agreement? You're going to come get on the broadcast with Dani.
Oh wow, totally. You know what? I'm here for it. Send me the merch though first, because I need to rep before I do that. So
we got jerseys, jerseys and hats. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm there then.
Yeah. Credit to everyone who's bought that. And if we might do another round, I think you can still go buy hats. By the way, I don't think you can get jerseys, but we have a few extras we'll be throwing around. Yeah. But I wanted to give a quick shout out as well, just before we log off, that in the WPSL, the Minnesota Thunder have won the WPSL Northern Conference. So they'll be the rep in the playoffs for WPSL. In UPSL Midwest West, which is the name of the division. There's no Midwest East, but I'm sure in the future there will be. Shout out to Tonka Fusion Elite. Looks like they're going to claim the title. Superior City FC have a chance. For people who've been listening, Superior City's roster is all from the Duluth area and like a small metro, so it's a very cool thing. They are northern Minnesota and Wisconsin squad for sure. But thank you, Kat. I don't know if you have any how should people, do you want followers to see your trips to Europe? How should people engage with you, Kat, aside from keeping an eye out for Nike to work this summer?
Am I doing a personal plug right now for my
Yes.
social?
I realized we never.
At Williamson 7, guys. You know.
I realized I forget to do that. Danny will actually remember to like to someone. I'm like, yeah, what do you know? If you want to.
Danny's
Plug yourself.
check mark. Okay, I'm not even verified. So.
Right. Yeah.
Me and my 1,000 followers.
There you go. And growing though. And growing. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. We got Green Bay tonight. Saturday is Chicago City, and stay tuned for playoffs coming up soon. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.